What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to an all-new episode of Mentor Monday. Great way to start the week with a nice call-in show. So if those of you are not familiar, Mentor Monday is a weekly show where we talk about some of the more philosophical aspects of being a home studio electronic music producer and some of the less technical stuff. So if you're here and you're chilling, which I see some of you in the chat already, which I'll say hi in a moment, you can call in. I already posted a Zoom link, but I will go ahead and drop that Zoom link again. If you want, you can click that Zoom link and you will be able to call in live on the show. You'll be put into a waiting room and I will take calls one by one. Don't worry, you don't click the link and automatically end up on stream or anything. You've got some time. I will call on you and bring you in. You'll be able to ask questions live here on stream. And I'm super stoked to be here with all of you today. Before we get too deep into it, some housekeeping stuff. Next week, there will not be a Mentor Monday live. I have to go work. I have to go travel a little bit for work. So stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Mentor Monday. But that is not to say that there will not be tons of awesome video content for you to all consume, meaning, let's see what's happening. I've got a really cool video coming out this coming week about MPK Mini accessories, like controllers or stuff you can buy to pair with your MPK Mini, or even if you don't have an MPK Mini, whatever mini keyboard controller you might have. So that's a cool video to look out for this week. That is scheduled for Wednesday, I believe. And then if you haven't yet, check out the Orba video I posted yesterday on Sunday, breaking down how I use the Orba, which is this neat little mini MIDI controller, like super mini. It's really different than any other controller. I talk all about how I use this to create beats and how I use it with an Ableton Live as a MIDI controller. So that video is already up. Go check that out on the channel if you haven't yet. And stay tuned for the upcoming content. If you enjoy Mentor Mondays and for some reason you have to miss the show or you want to take it on the go and not have to watch for hours and hours, you can go ahead and check out the podcast, TAETRO Radio, on your favorite podcast app. Just type that in, TAETRO Radio, TAETRO. And you can find clips from this show where we answer some really, really great questions that I think apply to a lot of people, not just the individual callers. But go ahead and check it out in your podcast feed if you don't want to let a YouTube video play for hours and hours and hours. All right. Anyway, let's check out who is here in the chat. I will try to take questions from chat as well, but I'll prioritize calls. So make sure you go ahead and click the Zoom link in chat now and join the waiting room, get in line. We're sticking to an hour today, so you're going to want to call in ASAP so I can make sure I can get to your call. But for now, I see Saharsh was the first one here today. Hello, good to see you again as well. Drillbit, hello. So Kim, my mom is here. Shital, hello. Wasabi Noise, a new patron at patreon.com/TAETRO. I might add Wasabi Noise. Thank you for becoming a patron. Emmett De Silva, hello, nice to see you. Purr, what is going on? The range control, hello, nice to see you as well. Manisha, Ray Calvin, Carlos, So Kim, I think I already said hello, but hello again. Nahuel, what's up? Basha Rivera, hello, good to see you as usual. Will Joseph, who am I missing? Who have I skipped over on accident? I might have skipped some names. Lakshit, hello. Jobit, I'm sorry you're having a tough time, but hopefully being here on this Mentor Monday, hanging out on stream and all that will cheer you up a bit, being amongst the community. Strange Strains, hello, nice to see you. Welcome to the stream. Most Wanted 37, what's up? Mr. Lee Pritam, hello. Blue Sunset from Portugal, where my family is from. Jonathan Rodriguez is here as well. Patrice Laporte, hello, bonjour, nice to see you. It's morning for me, curious to hear where you all are calling in from. Or chatting from, I should say. It's morning here in LA. It's a nice start to the week. I've got my week all planned out for me. Ariel Feldman is here. Hello, welcome. Nice to see you. Another thing I didn't mention at the top is had a really, really great interview with Ricky Tinez. Some of you probably know his channel, But Enrique is a super cool guy. He's got a really cool YouTube channel where he uses lots of hardware, uses MPCs, modular gear, synths, all that. He also works for Novation. We talked about just different aspects of him creating content, him holding down his full-time job at the same time as being like a leading content creator, all that. And I think that that is really cool. If you haven't checked that interview out, do that as well. That'll be in the podcast feed later this week as well, if you don't want to watch a hour or so long YouTube video. But yeah, Strange Strains says, yep, Ricky Tina's interview was dope. I'm glad you thought so. So I'm stoked for that. Sahar says, not far away from 100K. That's true. We are on, we are on the road to 100K. And I'm stoked for that. The channel's just growing and growing and growing. And you all can help with that by sharing a video or just even just liking and commenting on videos, because it helps the algorithm show it to more people. Helps tell YouTube what is up and that people would enjoy watching, other people would enjoy watching the video as well. Jobit says, I saw your Sneak ad. Yes, I'm in an ad for Sneak Energy. They're a great sponsor. I did a quick 30-second ad for them that some of you might see in your feed, like a pre-roll YouTube ad, but they have also commissioned some beats. So I think that that is really cool. It's a tough time out there for artists, especially if you're trying to make a living doing what you're doing. And a lot of the times we put ourselves in a box of saying like, okay, I've got to produce music. I've got to get a hit track. I've got to get placements. I've got to get artists to pay for my beats for them to use as instrumentals. But for me, that has not really been the route at all. For me, making a living off of being a musician and doing music and things like that has really been centered around social media, providing value via YouTube, like doing tutorials and stuff, which ends up generating ad revenue from YouTube. So when you watch a video and there's an ad before it, the more people that see that ad, the more I'll get paid. Affiliate links as well is another major way that I've been kind of making income in this position. So basically, like when I use a piece of gear, if you see an Amazon link in the description, it's an affiliate link, meaning that you can go click that link and buy basically anything, even a product that wasn't directly linked. And as long as you follow that link, I will get a commission on that too, on whatever you buy. So those two main things right there have been a solid source of income for me as a content creator and a musician, which is very, very different than, getting placements and getting people to pay for tracks. But that said, I mention it because you mentioned the Sneak ad drill bit, and Sneak was able to pay for me to do an ad for them because they wanted to feature a music producer, content creator. But then they also commissioned a beat each month for 6 months, a beat video. So that's another major way, making beat videos for whether it's people that make sound packs, like I work with ADSR that way, or Sneak, who just wants to create cool content for their socials. I get to make beats, I get to get paid pretty well for it, and I get to make videos. So definitely a cool way to think about generating income as a musician and as a content creator beyond just the simple, like, oh yeah, you got to get placements, you got to sell beats, you got to do all that stuff. Sky says, oh my God, you're a blink. It might be true. Yes. Let me go ahead and turn that light on. It's true. Let's see. What are people in the chat saying? What microphone are you using? This is the Bluebird, which is, one of my favorite condenser microphones. It's been my main mic for a really long time. This thing is really tough, rough, rugged. It's survived a lot. I used to use a boom mic, but I really like the way that this condenser mic sounds. It sounds nice and crisp and clean. It can be used for a lot of different things. But Sky, I'm curious to know, are you a blink as well? Connor Edwards says, loved the Orba video. Thank you. I'm glad you loved it. I think I'm going to do more content with the Orba because, to be honest, I'm picking up the Orba a lot. For those of you who don't know, this is the Orba. Like, of course, I can grab any controller off my wall and use it. But the Orba is just so nice and simple, especially the fact that I can play chords, leads, drums on it. I don't know. It's just really simple, minimal. It's amazing. Would love for y'all to call in with your questions. I've got some waiting in the waiting room. So you want to get in now, use the Zoom link. You can call in on whether you have an iPhone, iPad, computer, no matter what it is. If you have the Zoom app, you can click that link and you'll be able to call in I will get back to the chat questions in a moment, but for now, let's bring in the range control for a call. Make sure you mute the stream when you come on the call because it will be on a slight delay. It'll be kind of echoey a bit. Amit says, give us an orbit tutorial. There is already one there, my friend. I posted it yesterday, so make sure you check the channel. Check the newest videos. Pritam says, can I use orbit with Ableton? Yes, you should also watch the video from yesterday. I demonstrate exactly how I use it with Ableton Live. The range control, you're here, you're live. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing...
I loved the interview with Ricky the other day, man. That was fantastic.
Thank you so much. He is such a cool guy. He is like super zen, and I really wanted to get, to the core of his whole philosophy in doing content and being a musician and all that. And I think the thing about doing those interviews is it's actually really... I do the interviews and I think it's educational for the audience, but it's actually really motivating and educational for me as well. Like I sit there, I get to ask questions and learn all about these other artists. So for me, that's the coolest part about doing the interview because you guys are learning a lot and I'm learning a lot as well.
Yeah, so, that is fantastic. Actually, it's kind of funny. I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but this
That's
kind of came up. You're from Boston area, right?
That's true. I say Boston. I'm from just about an hour south of Boston. Okay,
so I was mostly reared in Florida, and so growing up hurricane season, coming up here to New Haven, hurricane. I can deal with hurricane. Like I've known years of experience with it.
Yeah.
But last week we had a tornado warning.
Whoa.
I'm sure your family told you about it, and it was just. That interview came on with Ricky, and I'm like stress moving stuff, trying to get my electronics away from the windows, and like Ricky comes on and chills me out. And
he chills, and then he goes, nothing really matters. That was like my favorite quote from the interview. He's just like, nothing matters.
J.J. Abrams pulled the right Jedi for the job. Then.
That's for sure. That's so true.
So Here's where I'm at. Last week, I picked up a drum machine, and so I'm new to it.
What drum machine did you pick up?
So I went to a pawn shop after calling around, and I picked up the Machine Mark III.
Cool. That's a great controller.
Got it talked down to 150.
Nice. That's actually a great price.
So. I don't really know. I'm used to training myself on a lot of things. If I got anything from the Army, I got that. But music is new to me. Like all of this is new to me. So I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to build. I don't know jack.
Right.
And humbly asking you to give me some guidance here and tell me where I should begin, crawl, walk, run, fly from.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, thank you for your service, of course. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Second of all, you made a great choice in picking up a Machina Mark III and also getting it for that price is amazing. Couple things to kind of set you off on the right path. There's a lot out there, like especially my channel where I'm using all different controllers, all different techniques. The Machina environment is very focused in the Machina software. And that is a good thing. That focus, being in that box, will actually help you learn because you won't have the endless possibilities, even though you still have a ton of possibilities within that box. So first step on your path is you should go on YouTube and just look up what people are doing with the Machina Mark III and what's actually possible. And this goes to anybody out there with any piece of gear. If you're going to buy a piece of gear or you've already got a piece of gear, go and look at what people are actually doing with it and look at some of the most viewed, some of the most popular, some of the best sessions with it. So you can kind of have a goal in mind, or at least a mindset of, okay, this is what's possible with this gear. Once you understand what's possible with a piece of gear, then you start to figure out, okay, which direction do you actually want to hone in on and which direction do you actually want to focus on. So and that's like aspirational. So really look at some aspirational content of okay, what's possible with this thing. And then the next thing is just get really, really focused in learning the ins and outs basics. Don't look at that aspirational content and try to jump ahead several steps and try to say, well, dang, I need to be able to do this. How do I do that? Because you'll start asking questions that actually require a bunch of learning that comes before you can even ask those questions. So you really want to start at basics, like level 1. So after you watch the aspirational content, now you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to look up basic, first day with Machina, day 1, whatever. So you can just learn that workflow, learn the software, and learn the controller. It's really 2 parts. That's one aspect. That's like the gear aspect, how you're going to learn to do that. But in terms of music as well, like you're going to have to do a fair amount of learning around how to actually create music and a little bit of music theory, which always sounds scary and not quite exciting.
I don't have time to be scared.
Right.
There's too much to learn.
Yeah. So do take the time and really learn. Now, that said, with your particular controller, it's different than having like a keyboard controller and learning traditional piano and stuff. So that's why I think
me today.
Right. So
not today, this week. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay. So that's why I think like learning some of the basics, like because with Machina you can do chords on the pads, you can do melodies and all that. You really want to start listening critically to some of the music that you really like, some of the music that inspired you to make your own music. Because it's beyond just listening to it for pleasure now, because now you want to create music. So what I mean by listening critically is you want to take the music that you love, put it all into a playlist, and start to listen to individual parts. Don't just listen to the song as a whole. You want to be listening and say like, hey, okay, bass line comes in here. The drums are here. What kind of drums are they? Okay, this is like a typical trap beat. So it's got that kind of kick drum, that kind of snare. It's got a steady hi-hat pattern, some 808s, etc. And then pay attention to the sections of songs. Okay, there's an intro where there's only one melody playing and then the beat drops. And then we've got bass, melody, and drums all coming in at the same time. And just listening to the music you like critically like that will help you to start seeing patterns. And it's even worth it to just keep a small notebook as you are a learner. And if we're going to show up to school, if we're going to show up to class, we would show up to class with a notebook. Well, you're kind of in this self-directed teaching mode now where you can sit down with a notebook, even though you're not showing up to a class with a professor, and actually take notes and be like, okay, a lot of the tracks I like have this kind of sound. A lot of the tracks I like are around 3 minutes and 30 seconds or 7 minutes and 10 seconds. And the way they're structured is like this. And just like take notes as you go. That critical listening and analysis combined with you learning your controller and a little bit of music theory will help you much quicker create something that you like. Because the trap most people fall into is they try to skip all those steps. They don't listen critically to the music they like. They just know that they want to make that kind of music and they try to rush into it. And when you do that, you will get frustrated and you won't be able to do it right away because you have to build a solid foundation. So start building that solid foundation by looking at some aspirational content, understanding what's possible with your controller and your software. B, doing a deep dive into the fundamentals of your controller and your software, as well as some of the fundamentals of music theory, how to play scales and whatnot. And then C, critically listen to the music that you love and that inspired you to make your own music so you can start to understand the really, really focused things that you like about music that you can then end up recreating yourself. Gather all that inspiration together, make something new with it. That I think is by far the easiest. I say easiest, but that will all take a lot of time. So it's not necessarily the easiest, but it is the most solid foundation you can build yourself on. I will also give a shout out if you like the Ricky Tinez interview. I have an interview with Sarah the Instrumentalist, which I'm not sure if you've checked out, but she is a hardcore Machina user, and she actually has a course available for like $50. And at some point, like if you stack that up against, college costs X amount, private lessons cost X amount. If you are really serious, you want to deep dive into it, buying a course like that from someone like Sarah the Instrumentalist is definitely worth well over the $50, but super focused training that you'll get within that, which will save you a lot of time within Googling and YouTube. Not that it can't be done within YouTube. It just might take you a little bit more time to find the focused content for it.
Okay, well, that's more than fair. I'll start with the fundamentals, build the vocabulary, learn some things, and then that way I have some things to ask her. Just want to throw two more really quick things at you. I don't want to monopolize time.
Go for it.
I apologize to everyone for monopolizing time.
It's okay.
The other thing I have a question with is I did about 4 months recon before I jumped into this. And with all the savings going on with COVID and all these companies trying to float, there's a lot of sales.
Yes.
So one of the things I did is this past weekend, as you can tell, I'm big on saving money.
Of course, we all are, yes.
There was a huge sale at Waves. And it was like this huge sale. They already had a huge sale, and then they had another 40% off.
That's amazing.
And so I just went bananas.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. So my question on this would be, how, like, I know some need PCI cards to run them efficiently. I'm wondering if my system is going to be able to run it efficiently, and more than anything, if there's a card that I can add to my system that's going to help me run it efficiently.
Well, in terms of computer and performance, it basically comes down to like processor, RAM, and yeah, those are the two major things. So do you know like what level processor you have? Like I've got an i7 and that works great.
Yeah, so I have the first gen i9. It's an i9
Perfect.
7960. It's got the 16 cores.
That's beautiful. What do you have?
Yeah.
What do you have for RAM?
128
Of RAM, or is that hard drive space?
RAM.
I think that you're good to go. You should have no trouble running this stuff. If you do run into issues, you might think about upgrading. But in terms of, like, I run everything off a MacBook Pro that's got an i7 and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it runs great. I rarely run in. There are some intense plugins that will give me some CPU issues, but you should be totally fine with that setup. You'll know once you start running into issues. The issues only come when you start adding lots and lots of stuff. But
that's what I'm concerned about because of the things I'm looking at.
Well, at a certain level, you shouldn't have to have so many things going on. You know what I mean? If you find yourself stacking things to a point where it's intense on your CPU, there should be a really good reason for it. Like, I really need to use all these plugins. If you find yourself asking, like, why am I using all of these plugins? Then you can take a second look, because to overdrive that machine that you just described, it will take a lot. And if you are overdriving it, you might think that you might be doing a little bit too much. So be aware of that.
Okay. And my very last question is this, and this may be personal if you're not quite comfortable asking it, answering it. I get it.
Let's give it a try.
So I'm apprehensive about certain things that, like, I'll see you do it, and I'm like, I don't know about that. One of the reasons I got the machine is because the pad size.
Sure.
I'm 6'4", and so when I see you do things, I'm like, how tall is this guy? Like, what's the scale of this little Orba thing? Like, is he 6 foot? Like, is he 5'2"? Like, I don't, and this isn't like a knock either way. I'm just trying to get like since you're doing so many things with your hands, as I will have to be, trying to get a reference scale for like, what size the things you're doing is going to be for me.
It's interesting. I'm 6 feet tall and I have relatively like big hands, people say. So this is my Akai and Pikin Mini, and a lot of people just like knock mini keys, but I think I have bigger hands than most people, and mini keys have never been a problem. And then when we start talking about the Orba, I mean, of course, it's a small little thing that fits in the palm of my hand, and I have large hands, as you can probably see.
Well, I know now. I mean,
yeah, but it's just kind of, you adapt to any instrument, like I think the trap we fall into with electronic music and controllerism, it's like if I was going to buy a guitars all mostly come in like a uniform size. Or if I was going to buy a pianos all come in like mostly a standard size. And I wouldn't say like, oh, my hand's too big for this piano, my hand's too big for whatever. So with controllers, we kind of just have to take the instrument as it is and adapt to it. So yes, I have really big hands. Yes, this is a really small controller, but I'm going to adapt and I'm going to learn to play and I'm going to learn a technique to be able to play it no matter how the instrument is set up, no matter the ergonomics of it. It's not prohibitive despite me having big hands. That's what I'll say.
No. I mean, now that I have a skill for it, because if you were like 5'2", for example, and you got tiny hands, I'd be like, don't know.
Right, for sure. But yeah, I'm a 6 foot tall, large hands, and I will make these hands work on whatever instrument I need them to, including tiny instruments like this.
Dude, thank you so much, everyone out in the crowd. Slancha, for your patience. I appreciate you all greatly. I love you all. You all have a great day.
Thanks so much for calling in, man. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, we will go ahead and keep on rolling with the calls. Divine, you're going to be up next. Folks, if you want to call in and ask your question, now is the time to get in. We're going to go for like a solid hour today, and then I got to jump to something else. But now is your chance. Get in line to call in. I'm going to bring Divine in right now. As Divine gets his mic set up and everything, I'm going to scan the chat. See lots of folks jumping in. What's up, Mark? Nice to see you. Toby, hello. Welcome. Bitplay is here. Oh yeah, Bitplay mentions Andrew Wong's music theory in 30 minutes video. That is a great video. So much value in that video. I think it's definitely worth checking out. I was thinking about doing something similar too, like my approach to music theory as a beat maker, because I think there's some fundamentals that people can learn that aren't too boring and aren't too whatever. The Tune Breakers, I appreciate you being a fan of the channel. Please don't spam the chat though. Thank you for being here. Divine, make sure you activate your microphone because I've got you here on Zoom and I just need you to look in the bottom left-hand corner near your mic and make sure you use that little arrow and select the proper microphone for yourself. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention, not to like plug it or whatever, but the Orba video that came out on Sunday has a Skillshare link in it. You can get 2 months free. You do have to enter like a credit card or whatever, because they'll charge you after 2 months. But if you take advantage of the 2 months and then just cancel, you won't get charged anything. So that's another way to quickly, 2 months, you can learn a lot in 2 months for sure. You get all the courses there. All right, Divine, I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. If you can figure out your mic situation, I'll bring you back for sure. Prem, I think. Prem5, I'm bringing you in to the chat. And you can help me know how to say your name for sure. We'll connect via audio. Yeah, but the range control, really great questions. I'm stoked for you to start making beats with your Machina. That's going to be really fun for you. All right, we're connecting to audio to this next guest on the show. As that goes down, Karma Toast asks, how do you feel about mobile DAW options such as GarageBand, FL Studio Mobile, or BeatMaker 3? I think that they're all great, especially in the fact that computers are very expensive. Phones and tablets are expensive too. But iPads, like my iPad that I have is like a $300 iPad, and you can do so much on it. Even your phone, like we all pretty much have phones anyway. What's going on with the calls today? They are just not connecting. All right, folks, when you call in, make sure you have like a microphone selected on Zoom. That's what you need to do. But what I was going to say about mobile options is whatever you have to make music is great. If you can't get a big expensive computer, whatever, that's fine. The stuff that's on my phone that I can make music with, whether it's like the Groovebox app, for a phone that I'm going to have anyway, you know what I mean? I think most of us are going to have phones anyway now. So you might as well get one that can run some of these apps. I think iOS is important because they have the most support for some of these apps. But yeah, there's that. Let's do this a little bit earlier than we usually do. We're going to take some time for a little guest segment from our guest that likes to call in pretty much every week. I'm wondering if it's my problem on the Zoom. Oh, well. We'll see if this call works. It should. See if we can get... a segment we like to call Samuel Says. Welcome, Samuel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome back to the stream. Bringing you in a little bit earlier this week.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show. What you got for me this week?
I got like 3 good questions and then one quick comment, which is gonna be really exciting.
All right, let's do it.
So, like, since I got the Launch Key Mini, I've been really pissed about one thing.
Whoa, little kid using swears. All right. What are you really pissed about?
It doesn't have pitch and mod wheels.
Um,
It's so annoying.
which controller did you say again?
Launch Key Mini.
But it has strips. It has touch strips. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but like, I don't know. For me, just having a physical thing to push and move, that's good. And then also seeing where the position of the mod wheel is also a really huge thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Being able to see the position of the mod wheel is important. But before you bought the Launch Key Mini, did you know that it didn't have a pitch and mod wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
you knew what to expect going in. See, here's the thing. I like pitch and mod touch strips because you can get more of like a bend by just like placing your finger on it and bending it. But for me, like, how often do I use pitch and mod? Not that often, so it's not that big of a deal to me. Maybe it's a bigger deal for you, but I wouldn't be too mad about it.
And I found a solution online, but it hasn't been working for me until now, using my controller as a pitch and mod joystick.
Oh, very cool. That's exciting.
That's something I should look into.
For sure. Unless it doesn't matter that much and you can just move on without it and start making some music. That's what I say.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working fine with them. It's just kind of hard to just work with 2 strips.
I hear that. For sure. All right, next.
Next is a comment.
Let's get it.
So I was looking through my computer specs.
8
gigabytes of RAM. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
pretty
I
good.
look at the Intel Core. It's i7 4th generation.
Which is pretty good, right? I don't even know that much about this stuff. I mean, an i7's an i7. Of course, the newer generations are going to be good. 8 gigabytes of RAM is plenty, especially if you're using Ableton. I'm pretty sure this is still true for Ableton Live 10, but I think Ableton will only use 4 gigabytes of RAM unless you physically like tell it to load samples in to more RAM. I think it's only ever using 4 gigabytes of RAM. I could be wrong. That could be an old Ableton Live thing, but at a certain point, RAM can only do you so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's cool. Your computer has good specs.
Yeah, kind of. But the fourth generation, it does sound good. Like i7 on its own, just the 4th generation aspect is horrible.
Interesting.
At least from my point of view.
What generation are we on?
I don't know, like 10th,
Oh, wow.
11th. I don't know.
Yeah, well, eventually you'll make an upgrade at some point in your journey.
Yeah.
You have time.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Next question. MIDI channels.
Tell me about it.
What are they?
All right, MIDI channels. So, a MIDI controller, let's just stick with MIDI controllers for now. They send MIDI to your DAW, right? If we're talking about using them with software specifically. Sometimes MIDI controllers send MIDI on different channels, which means that you can isolate them. And the Akai MPK Mini is a perfect example for this because most of the MIDI messages, like the messages from the keys, the on-off and the note messages that it sends to your DAW, are on MIDI channel 1. So if folks don't know, within your DAW, within Ableton Live specifically, you can select on a MIDI track not only what controller it's receiving from, so we can say, okay, yes, receive MIDI from the Akai MPK Mini, but you can also tell it what channel to receive from. So if we say only receive MIDI from channel 1, you'll get all the MIDI from the keyboard. The pads, on the other hand, are on channel 10, which means you could essentially arm 2 MIDI instruments, 1 drum rack, and 1 playable instrument. And when you play these keys, the instrument that's set to channel 1 will play. And when you play the pads, the instrument that is receiving from channel 10 will play. This is really useful because now Because usually when you play these pads, if you just have one instrument armed and you play the pads, these send note information. So this will send like a C0 note to your synth, which you probably don't want. But now you could isolate them. You could break them apart. You say this is on MIDI channel 10. This is on MIDI channel 1. Now you can have two different instruments on the same keyboard. A lot of controllers allow you to customize this. So if you have bigger controllers with either, more pads or more keys, more buttons, whatever, you can actually pick what MIDI channel they operate on. Some you could even like split it up and say you want these 4 pads on MIDI channel 10 and these 4 pads on MIDI channel 11. Then you can have 3 different things set up: an instrument here, an instrument here, and here. So MIDI channels, usually you can customize controllers to send MIDI information on certain MIDI channels. Specifically, generally MIDI channel 10 is reserved for drums, which is why you'll see a lot of drum inputs sending from MIDI channel 10.
Okay. And then as an example for that, or kind of another question.
Yeah.
So about the joystick thing, I have to pick which MIDI channel it sends on.
Yep.
And so if the launch key is sending on MIDI channel 1, do I have to put MIDI channel 1 or do I have to pick another channel?
No, you want to pick another channel because I believe you'll want to pick like a channel that nothing else is using. There might even be a standard for that though. So you should look up, there are quote unquote standards for this where it's like, okay, drums are on MIDI channel 10. There might be a MIDI channel standard for pitch and mod. So you should Google that and look that up. I think that might be a thing. If not, you should pick a channel that nothing else is using.
Okay. And another quick question.
Yes.
So can you put several MIDI channels on one track?
Several MIDI channels on one track. Tell me what you mean.
Like if I'm playing the notes on the one track and then I want to send pitch and mod information on the same track.
It doesn't quite work like that, but what will ultimately happen, like right now, if you plug in your controller and you start controlling a MIDI instrument, it's receiving MIDI information from all of the channels. So that is essentially doing what you want it to do. I'm not sure if you can pick and choose. You can pick and choose a single channel. I'm not sure if you can pick and choose like 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure. But when you just arm MIDI track like normal, it will receive MIDI from all of the channels. So if you do assign your pitch and mod separately, and the track is receiving MIDI from the controller on all the channels, it should still work. It should work.
Okay. Yeah, I never realized that it receives MIDI from all channels.
Yeah, so in Ableton Live, all the way on the right side, somewhere in the middle of the screen on the hard right side, there's a little I/O button. If you click that I/O button, you'll be able to see the in and out, and it will show you the MIDI channels. There'll be a drop-down menu where you can select. Not only that, but when it gives you the list of like 1 through 16 MIDI channels, if you touch notes on your keyboard or if you touch pads on your keyboard, it will actually light up next to the number what MIDI channel, it's receiving from.
Okay.
Good way to figure it out.
Now the exciting news.
Oh, the exciting news. Let's hear it.
I'm making a new video.
That's what I like to hear. What are you making a video about?
So we have the electronic drum set at church, and the knob got lost, and so I'm gonna make a new one.
Epic. I love to hear that. Maybe whenever you finish that video, let us know so we can all show some support and check it out.
Okay. And an update on the Talkbox video.
Yes, how's that going?
It's gonna take quite a while.
It's gonna take quite a while, so why don't you do it in chapters, piece by piece? It doesn't have to be an hour-long video. You could do like, okay, this is my first step.
The fire is arriving in like 3 weeks.
Ah, I see. So you wait for that shipping, get it in. You could even make a intro video talking about your plan and how you're going to do it. Just a thought.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you for calling in as usual, Samuel. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah.
Have a good one. Bye. We love it when Samuel calls in, for sure. Let's bring in Emmett. If you were having trouble calling in before, I did try to call on folks, but just try to make sure your Zoom is set up properly, and then you can call back in. I'll try to get your call if you can do that soon. My chair is so squeaky today. I don't know why. I can do this too. There we go. Well, I think it reacts to sound. Emmett, you're going to be on the air. Just make sure you unmute yourself, and we will get you in on the call. Toby says, first time here. Samuel seems popular. Samuel is popular, Toby. Emmett, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hello, how are you? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Canada.
Amazing. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm kind of new to this, but I use the DAW BandLab.
Cool.
I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like a browser DAW.
Yeah,
right?
I've checked it out before.
So anyways, in like all my tracks, there's like a crackle or like a fuzziness, and it kind of like cuts out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's my DAW or because I also have like a Chromebook, so yeah, it doesn't have the best specs.
Well,
and I also don't have good headphones, so I'm not sure if it's the DAW or the headphones or the computer.
All right, so this is like a major thing, is just troubleshooting. So the main thing that you will become very good at as you continue with music production is literally troubleshooting and isolating problems. So one, we can figure out if it's the headphones by just find any other pair of headphones. Doesn't matter if they're good or bad. Plug a different pair of headphones in. If the crackling and the problem is still there, it's not the headphones, because it's highly unlikely that both headphones would have the same problem. Second thing is, if it is your Chromebook, BandLab can also load up on phones and stuff, can it?
Yeah.
So try loading something up on your phone and see if it has the same issue. That will tell us that it's not a problem with like your track or something. That isolates the problem, and that tells us the problem's on the computer, on the Chromebook. The problem you're describing sounds like a buffer size issue, which I don't know too much about BandLab. I know that it's web-based, so it shouldn't be that intensive on your computer. It should function on the Chromebook with no problem. But you'll want to check two things. You want to check in the BandLab preferences, you want to check your sample rate, and just make sure that that's set to a normal like 44.1 or like a 48. You want it to match like whatever your computer settings are. And then if there is a buffer size option, buffer size is generally for the time it takes from the time I press a key on the keyboard to the time you hear a sound, because it has to convert that signal digitally and in real time or close to real time play you a sound. It wants to like feel like it's real life, but some computers can't handle processing it that fast. So a lot of these programs have a buffer size option. If you increase that buffer size, it may solve the problem, because it may be doing less processing power to try to get that quick of a reaction from your controller to your DAW, even if you're not using a controller. So even if you're not using a controller, your buffer size can be set low and it can still be causing problems. So check to see, even just doing a quick Google search of like how to change buffer size in BandLab, if you can find a resource on that. Turning that number higher, it's usually like a milliseconds value. Like really low is like 64 milliseconds, and then really high is like 512. You want to turn it up to a higher number. If you turn it up to a higher number and the crackle goes away, then you know that that's the issue. But that is what the issue sounds like to me.
All right, thanks. I have one more quick question.
Sure, let's do it.
Like on YouTube, I've researched like free DAWs, right? For Chrome OS, but a lot of the videos show stuff like for Windows and Mac OS. So I was wondering if you knew any other DAWs for Chrome OS.
It's interesting. Anything that's browser based should work. I know Roland has one called like Roland Zen Beats, I believe it's called. You should check that out.
All right.
Another one to check out is by Amplify. It's like Amplify, but without the L. They're actually like a company that is very close with Innovation, who makes like the launch key and stuff. You can even, they have an app called Groovebox. They have a bunch of apps that you can get on iPhones and stuff, but I believe they also have a browser-based DAW. So just look up Amplify DAW. And then one other one I use to teach on is called Soundation. It's like foundation, but with an S, Soundation. That's a
I've
very,
heard that one.
yeah, that's a very simple one. And
Yeah.
I think that those are the top three that I can think of: Roland Zen Beats, Amplify, and then also Soundation. Those are three I would check out for sure.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, whatever you got your Chromebook and you're trying to make music, you will learn so much, even though like obviously a Chromebook isn't the ultimate music making machine. If you learn to do the best stuff that you can do on that limited machine, once it comes time, once you get a little bit older and you're able to get like a decent laptop that isn't just a Chromebook, you'll be so much farther ahead because you learned within the limitations of your Chromebook and you'll be stronger for it. So don't give up and don't feel like you're stuck in this limitation and you can't do stuff. You can still do great stuff.
Yeah, thanks. I also have like an Arturia Mini Lab Mark II.
Amazing.
And I got it from watching Sanjay C's videos,
Nice.
your videos, and Andrew Hong.
That's great.
Yeah. So now I watch all of your videos.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much and good luck, and hopefully you'll check in on a future show so we can hear how it's going.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good one, Emmett.
You too. Bye.
Peace. All right. Carlos, you're up. Good question, the rabbit travel. So that's very advanced, though. That'd be too advanced for me, the whole Linux thing. Carlos, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Earbuds.
There you go.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you today?
Yeah, man. I'm doing great.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Brazil.
Welcome to the show. What's your question?
All right, man. I want to start to make beats.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But I just played the guitar. I know like basics from music theory. Not a lot. I just got my AK Mini
Nice.
to make beats, and I just have a basic computer and use Ableton. But you know,
Great.
like I wanna ask like, what should I do? What should I start? I don't know anything. I just got like arcade to like make some beats and starting like listen to some things,
Yep.
But I just don't know anything.
All right.
I gotta
It's humbling
tips
to be able to
from
say
you.
I just don't know anything. Like I think that's really great that you understand that and that you're ready to like take the plunge. The first thing I would say is don't try to jump right into making music right away. You really want to learn the fundamentals of Ableton Live first. And you can do that by making like it. Ultimately, to learn Ableton Live, you'll learn it by making music in it. But if you don't start with learning to make music, start with learning to use Ableton Live. Because once you understand the functions of Ableton Live, you can make it do what you want and you can make the music that you want in it. So look up some really beginner Ableton Live tutorials and really figure out how you want your workflow to be within that DAW. Because your workflow can be a bunch of different ways within Ableton Live as a software. But don't skip right to making music. I know you're excited to make music, and ultimately, while you're learning the software, you'll be making music, you'll be recording different ideas, but really learn the software. Then it's kind of similar to the first caller from today. Learn the software really well. Then you know a little bit from guitar of some music theory. Yeah. I would use that to your advantage, whether it's you're going to start your tracks with guitar and record in some samples playing the guitar, maybe start with a riff and sample that, add a beat to it. But you won't be able to do all that stuff before you learn the ins and outs of Ableton Live. Like learning software and being an electronic music producer is really such a multifaceted thing for musicians, because a lot of the times people say, okay, I want to be a piano player, and they learn piano, they know how to play the piano, and that's it. Well, with electronic music production and beat production, you have to know, okay, how do I actually play melodies? How do I play bass lines? How do I play chords? How do I finger drum, play beats? But then also, how do I use the software? How do I do sound design? Like, there's so many aspects. So it gets confusing, like trying to look at it as traditional music and the approach to it, but it really is multifaceted. Learn the software first. Once you're comfortable with the software, then really start to focus and start making music. And you'll be learning the software as you go anyway. But
Yeah, that's what I like. What I'm trying, like, I'm trying to learn with mistakes. You know, like
yes,
I'm trying to do loops, and then oh my god, the loop isn't good, so I just adjust, and then like, but
keep doing
I
that.
got what you say.
Yes, keep doing that, but be focused with it. Like figure out, okay, I'm doing this, but why isn't it good? I'm trying to make this loop, but it's not quite lined up with everything. Okay, why is that? If you don't skip the step of learning the software in and out, then you will be less frustrated, and you'll be able to target the reasons why the music that you're making is not living up to what it is in your head. And really having a solid foundation is a way to avoid that. And don't let it get you down, because you're 100% right. You're going to learn by making mistakes, and the music that you're about to make, like not knowing anything about music production, is going to be some of the worst music that you will ever make. Because you're just starting. Like you have to embrace that. So don't feel down on yourself when the first 3 beats that you make are not something that you want to share with people, or not something that is what you want to put out into the world. It's part of your learning process. Don't feel like everything you make has to be the best thing ever. Sometimes you made a beat just to learn how to enter in 16th notes. Sometimes you make a beat just to learn about how to make a cool chord progression. And beats don't have to exist just to be released. They can exist to also be a part of your learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, using arcade, I could like make a like really simple beat, but I'm still struggling with like making drums on tempo, this kind of things.
For sure.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
It's
so that means there's steps
it's just
somewhere.
Hard
yeah.
For me.
There's steps somewhere that you skipped. So if you're having trouble, like you jumped right into the arcade, I would almost say like put arcade on the shelf for a week, because you haven't even learned the fundamentals of Ableton Live yet. Once you truly understand like how to get music working, how to get it all in time, how to get everything synced up, how to go from session to arrangement view, once you learn all that stuff, then drop arcade in there. You'll have a reason to do it. You'll be like, man, I could really add a cool vocal melody using arcade here. And you'll drop arcade in, and it'll fit with everything, and it'll sound good. But don't skip those steps. And when you get to these moments like this, realize that like if you're frustrated, if you're like, this isn't working, what did I miss? What did I skip? That's what you have to ask yourself.
All right. And then like after like know how to use our Ableton, like should I focus on studying music theory, or like not too much, like
well, music theory is important. Music theory, an understanding of music theory will help you bring the ideas in your head to life, because you'll hear an idea in your head and you'll be like, okay, that's a minor chord with a downward directional melody over it, and the bass line is following the root of the chord progression. Like to be able to decipher that all in your head is ear training and music theory. There's ways you can do that. You can go the traditional route, look up some videos. Somebody mentioned Andrew Wong's 30 minutes on music theory, which I could highly recommend on YouTube. Lots of free stuff out there, but it's also comes back to what I was talking about before about critical listening. Start listening to the music that you love and that makes you want to make music really critically, and start to understand in your head what is making that music hit for you. Not just like listening to it for pleasure. Really, now you're listening to it as a producer. You're listening to it as a musician. What is making it? Okay, there's a 4-chord progression. Yeah, perfect.
It's a whole thing different. Like
it's totally different than just listening to music for fun.
Yeah, it's totally different. Back then, I used like to just chill, but now I just, how this guy make this? Like
exactly. And now that part of your brain is turned on, it's going to be very hard to turn it off. So use it. Use that part of your brain.
All right, man. That's all. Thank you so much.
Great call, Carlos. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one. All right, my friends, I've got about 10 minutes that I can stay on longer. I'm going to try to take as many calls as I can. I've got Vincent here waiting. I want to grab Vincent. I've got 2 Vincents. I think that they're the same Vincent, but I'm not sure. I got a capital V Vincent and a lowercase v Vincent. Yes, I do, Dribble, have a video on how to make that basic audio processing rack, which you should check out. You can make it for yourself. It makes the beats sound good, but a lot of that comes down to like arranging, not having too much going on, very simple EQ, cutting out lows where they don't need to be there, compression, getting things compressed, sounding nice and even. Just a very, very basic thing that anybody can make, no matter what DAW they use. It really is just a combination of EQ, compression, and then some reverb when we need it. Vincent, I've got you here. You just got to turn sound on, but let me try to admit the other Vincent because maybe that will work instead. All right. Any recommendations for MPC beats? I should have mentioned that. If you're still watching and you were Emmett and you were looking for a free DAW, MPC Beats is another free DAW. Although I'm not sure if it can run on Chromebook. That was the issue. Vincent, you're on the air. Oh, you're muted. Let's unmute. Moogie888 asks, Ableton 10 stock library is good, or yes, it's good if you know how to use it. Oh, Vincent's gone. I got somebody called I Want to Make Music in the waiting room, so let's bring them in. Diego Reyes says, am I late? Yes, you're late, an hour late, but that's okay. Welcome to the show. Of course, the show is always viewable later. You don't have to be live. Hello, your name on Zoom is I Want to Make Music. Would you care to share a first name for us?
I'm Bharat, and I'm talking from the Middle East.
Welcome to the show, my friend. What's your question?
Yeah, what's up? And 1 second.
Go ahead.
Right.
Any guide on how to start selling beats online? Prem asks that question. Prem, if you're starting to sell beats online, go to BeatStars, make an account, start selling music, start selling beats. But you're going to be around a bunch of other people that are also trying to sell beats. So how are you going to stand out? Maybe make a social media profile. All right, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? Welcome.
And man, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. I have a lot of doubts, man, that I want you to clear.
I hear you.
Yep, and learn about the finger drumming. How do you just finger drum so well? I mean, I've tried, and then it just it's so out of beat. And even when I try quantizing it, it just isn't the jam. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, that's age-old advice for any musician. Practice, practice, practice. There's ways that you can train yourself. There's a program called Melodics, which I think they have like a free trial out there where you can really learn to finger drum. Like it's almost like Guitar Hero for finger drummers, but it teaches you. It starts you at a very basic level and builds you up. I'm not even that proficient of a finger drummer. There's far better finger drummers than me, but I've been doing it for like years and years and years, where I also have a lot of musical experience. So I played in like school band where you have to play along with a conductor and you're part of a much bigger band. So you have to be in time. You have to be counting in your head. And then I've played in like regular rock bands and stuff where you're playing with a drummer and everybody has to be in time together. So all that musical experience led up to me being able to, it's not just the finger drumming, being able to play in time, but you want to be able, sorry, the dog's barking. You want to be able to play keys in time as well. Having a really good sense of time is something that you learn, and you learn it by playing music either with others or playing along with music. So if you have music that you really like that you can play along with, even if you just load up a simple drum kit and you play along with some beats that you really like, that would be good practice. Making sure the metronome is on and that you're playing along with the metronome. If it's too fast, turning it down and then building up to the tempo you want it to be. But it really does take hours and hours of practice. Eventually you build up the skill where you're at where you are right now is at a very beginner level, but as you practice and practice, you build yourself up to a level where now it's just easy. Now you just pick up the keyboard or the controller and you can just do it.
Okay, because I'm still really stoked that I got to meet you.
You're a little low on the volume. I lost you a little bit. Can you make it a little higher? Bring up the volume a little bit.
Are you able to hear me now?
It's a little quiet still, like you're far away.
Oh, 1 second. What about now?
Still quiet.
No, 1 second. How about now?
It's still the same. I don't know if it's my problem or not. Chat, is the caller quiet for you as well? Let me know. You were fine before. It's quiet for them too, so it's not me. Maybe if you're using a phone, just use like the phone mic instead of like earbuds.
I'm using a gaming headset.
Oh,
The mic on.
get right up on the mic and I'll try my best to hear.
Oh, okay. And just one more thing.
Sure.
I just want to know where you get your backing tracks. Instead of metronome, you use a few, just top hi-hats and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And all of your VSTs. Can you please recommend some for free? A few free VSTs and really good stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't use that many free VSTs. Before I was doing the channel and getting lots of, like now I get lots of plugins for free. I'm very, very fortunate of that. Before I was doing that, however, I was using all the stock sounds in Ableton Live. And Ableton Live comes with lots of stock sounds. So especially if you just search shaker in your library on Ableton Live, you might find some shaker loops. But also go to the Ableton website because there's lots of free sound packs there. They sell sound packs, but if you sort them by free, you'll find a lot of free stuff. I can't recommend enough Splice. They're not a sponsor or anything, but I pay $7.99 a month for Splice, and that is how I get the samples like quickly. Like I think $7.99 is highly underpriced for the value that I get out of it because I just open it up from the top bar of my computer. If I need a shaker loop, I type in shaker, I find one. It might be a new sample that I've never had, or it might be a sample already in my library. I can drag it right into the project from Splice. I really think that Splice at $7.99 a month, even though like, so for some people it's just not an option to be able to pay for stuff like that. But I do think that it's good value if you do have, like for me, $8 at the end of the month is, let's see, I pay like $3 for a coffee at Starbucks. If I skip a coffee once a week, I've more than paid for Splice. So that's how I think of it. The other thing about Splice too, because a lot of things are expensive and you're talking about plugins, is they have a lot of rent to own, or some plugins have this on their own, but through Splice, you can rent to own plugins, which means instead of paying like whatever, how much Serum costs, like $300, I pay over time and I'll get Serum without having to drop $300 all at once. So look into like pay to own stuff too, for sure.
Okay, definitely. And one last question.
Sure.
I'm so sorry to be taking up so much.
It's okay.
Time. Can you please talk a little bit about your performance process? Like I've seen a lot of your performance videos, and how much preparation and how much of backstage processes do they actually take? Like the time.
It takes a lot more time than you see, and that's really important. That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. I just shot a video. I'm actually working on a video that has to do with pedal looping and the MPK Mini.
Okay.
And there is a difference. I want to clear this up too. Some of the beat videos that you see on the channel are not performances at all. Some of them are literally just I play the melody, I record the video playing the melody, I stop. Then I record the drums and I stop. Some of them are
So
not.
it's not
though.
on the fly.
Some of them are, some of them are not. If you see like the camera switching, like if you see not necessarily the camera switching, but if I jump right from one instrument to another, like if it goes right from me playing the keys right to me playing drums, then it's just it's a beat video that I've put together. Otherwise, it would just be boring. You know what I mean? Now, I do have some straight up live performances, live looping performances. And in those videos, you can really tell because they're a lot longer. They take a lot more time. And those, for instance, like the one I just mentioned, I'm working on a pedal looping video with the Akai MPK Mini. And it took multiple takes. Like you guys see the finished take and it seems really cool, but it's not like I'm sitting there and getting it done first try. I'm sitting there, not only am I setting up the cameras and making sure all the cameras and the audio are synced, that's one level of preparation, but B, before I even sat down to do the performance, I had to build the project. So I picked all the instruments. Then I figured out what was I going to play on each instrument, came up with the musical ideas. That takes lots of time. Then I practiced just looping all those sounds. So I practiced playing it over and over and over again. And the thing about practicing it for the first time when I first start is sometimes, let's say the arrangement of the track is chords, drums, melody, bass. Sometimes in a looping performance, when I first start practicing, I get to the chords and I mess up. I have to start over. I'm playing chords again, mess up, have to start over. Then eventually I get to the chords. It goes great. I get to the drums, mess it up, have to start over. And then I just do that over and over again until suddenly I do the chords, I do the drums, I do the melody, I do the bass line, and then I didn't mess it up at all. I do that over and over and over again, but I restart. Every single time I mess up, I get the chords, drums, the bass line, messed up the bass line, got to start over. It is a process of that. And that is a very real process that I think people do not see on YouTube. And of course, like, why would I? Sometimes I do that. I have some uncut beat making videos that you can watch where it's like 30, 40 minutes of me messing up, making mistakes, and making like a really short beat. And that's the reality of it. But I think, like, of course, I want to put out the best video out there. You're not going to see all the rehearsal takes, but just know you can assume this for anybody, not just me. Anybody behind the scenes has spent hours and hours practicing and failing before they actually got to the final result that you are seeing on YouTube. Just assume that for everybody, not just me, anybody that you watch performing.
Okay. Because even I had this doubt for a long time because I just kept messing up. That too, considering my poor mechanics or knowledge when it comes to. I just bought a Launch Key Mini yesterday. My parents bought it for me.
Amazing.
Because yesterday was my birthday.
Your parents are great. Happy birthday.
Yep, thank you. And I think musical knowledge is all sorted out. I have like over 7 years of piano experience.
Good.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, the thing about it is. Practice and practice and practice over and over again. Keep letting yourself fail and don't quit, because the video that I just made around pedal looping, if I quit every time I had to stop and restart, I wouldn't have a video and I wouldn't have a really cool performance for you guys in a couple weeks. You got to keep practicing. Don't stop. You'll get progressively better every time. If you hit a wall, you got to take a break, walk away, but then come back to it. If you hit a wall that you think is skill-based, that means you just got to keep practicing, or you got to learn some aspect. You have some knowledge gap that you have to fill.
Yep. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yep.
Have a good one. We got time for one more call today, folks. I really am enjoying the show today. Really great questions. Nick Lovin is going to close us out today. I thank you all for hanging out with me today on this Mentor Monday. Hopefully it's motivating you and your week to continue on and have a great productive week. Nick Lovin, take it away. You're a final call today.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you for calling in as usual.
Yeah, no problem, my man. I'm going through a similar situation where I'm moving. So I'm very excited about that.
It's always fun.
Well, honestly, it's not going to be too bad. We don't own too many things right now. So
Good.
I think it's going to be when we move out of that space, right?
Moving truly makes you realize how much crap you have.
Yeah, I haven't packed. But anyway, there is a giant space like on the top floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm thinking about putting my studio.
Nice.
Right? Now I have just, couple pair of monitors, right? I'm working off a MacBook. I got a desktop PC, so I'll be gaming and also making music, whatever.
Right.
So I guess my question, to make this short, is what are some things to keep in mind for getting a good studio setup? Because I know when you're thinking about making music, you don't want to have like too much reverb, and you also don't want to have too much just crazy, just crazy noise problems going on. What are some things that you've done to your studio? Because I'm sure it's just like a room in your place, right?
Yeah, this room, like, you guys don't get. Maybe it looks much bigger than it actually is, but this is an 8x7 room. So basically, I could lay down this way on the floor and touch the other side of the wall. So this is a really tight space, but working within the limitation of whatever space you have is, to me, the most fun part. Like, I really had to think, how am I going to take this tiny room and make it into a cool studio space? And the one thing you mentioned is like echo and reverb. It being a small kind of box of a space, I did have to deal with that. So I bought some really cheap foam panels that are not really for acoustics, but I put them on the wall just to block some reflection. I've got some tiles on the opposite wall that make the wall less flat, so make it less likely that there'll be reflections. And then I also have a small carpet. Carpets and like furniture go a long way into making the room and the space not so reflective. The other thing is storage. You want to make sure you can get to whatever gear you're organized enough so that you can get to whatever gear you need when you need it. For instance, like I have a little drawer unit right next to me that has every single kind of cable that I will ever need. It has every single kind of USB cable, multiples in one drawer. It has instrument cables and XLR mics in another drawer. Then everything just within reach: camera batteries, camera chargers, audio adapters, TRS MIDI adapters. Everything is within reach. I've got these IKEA pegboards on my right here, which like I just pull my my little audio recorder off the rack when I need it. My hard drives, storage, organization, all that. Like make sure your stuff is like organized, because if you can take all the blocks, all the mental blocks out of the way of you sitting down and having fun, making music, creating something, you will be way more likely to sit down and actually create something. If when you're thinking about, man, I want to go up to the studio, make some music, have some fun, if the thought in the way of that is, well, damn, I don't know where this is, or it's really a mess up there, I don't really want to go up there, it's not that organized, then it's just a block. It's getting in the way of you creating stuff. So take the time and like think about organization and storage, especially for me being in such a small room. Having like some very, very simple cube organizers, some drawers has gone a long way. The last thing that I'll say, because I just thought of it, is like the aesthetic. So when I was building like this small room, I was really thinking about like how I love sci-fi and how I love small spaceship aesthetic, and how I have like a very small space to work in, which is kind of like a small spaceship. How do I make that cool? Well, can I get like a cool neon light? Can I get some colorful lights, color changing lights? The specific wall tiles that I chose have a very space age look to them. Put in some thought around the aesthetic. If you're going to make an investment in this space and get, some storage or a different desk or whatever it may be, some decorations, make it a place that you like feel like is a dope space to be in, that you really just want to go to, and that when you show it to your friends, you show it to your family, they're like, man, this is a dope space. Like that will even more make it so that you feel like you want to go there. And I know aesthetic seems superficial. It's actually like I got these speakers, specifically these JBL speakers, because my KRK monitors were these big black blocks on my desk, and they just didn't look right. They sound great, they just didn't look right, and that seems superficial. But if every time I had to sit down and look at them and they were just an eyesore, I wouldn't have felt great about sitting in my home studio. Now I have these JBL speakers, which are all right, but very aesthetically pleasing. And I feel better about sitting down at my desk, So don't sleep on the aesthetics.
For sure. Wow, that's a really good tip. I usually just go into it and just place things in there.
Yeah.
Now, just one last thing. It looked like with your space, right? Just looking at a YouTube point of view. So whatever that
for
means.
Sure. It has to function part as like a content creation studio and a music studio. So it has it has to do double duty, which it would look different if it didn't. So that's a good point.
Did you choose putting your decks on the wide part of it rather than like the short? You know what I mean?
Like having it go across instead of up against the wall or something.
Exactly. So when you plan that out, right, do you plan for your room to kind of have space behind you, or are you looking at it through like a vertical space so that your desk is on the longer part of the room?
It's a specific choice based on wanting to get this very specific head-on shot of camera looking straight at me, sitting at my desk, and then being able to have a top-down shot. It's very, very specific of that. If I was not making videos and I didn't want this talking to the camera shot, I would definitely move this desk to the side and have like a more open floor plan look. But this is just what I got to do. And this makes it so that I can come into the room, sit down. I have a camera shot and my tripod right there. That's just like always set up and always there. And it's again about taking away blocks. I don't have to come in and like in my previous home studios, it was either like in my living room or it was in my bedroom. It was always a compromise. So I always had to set up the camera, figure out what angle was going to work for what I was specifically doing. Here, I sit down, the cameras are already set up. I have a set position for them to all be in, and I get to making content. Just so much less in the way of me making stuff. If I wasn't making videos, I would just, set it up to have a slightly more open floor plan and more space. But I'm working with what I got, and this makes it easier for me to sit down and just make content. Less gets in the way.
Nice. Awesome. Well, And wow, that answers my question. So
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for letting me do that contest the other
Of
week.
course, yeah, that was
awesome. I love
such a
video.
fun. That was such a fun community challenge. If you all didn't check it out, you should check out. I believe the video is called "Raw Beat Making Setup with the Launch Q37." I show off a little wireless setup, but I also gave some of the Discord community a sample from the beat that I made, and they flipped it, and then you could hear all those beats in that video and on TAETRO Radio. So you all should check that out. Nick, thank you so much for calling in today.
No problem. Just let me know when you got another sample for us.
Absolutely, it's gonna be really soon for sure. I'm already thinking about it. All right.
Sweet. All
Peace
right.
out.
Have a great day.
See you soon.
Bye.
All right, folks, that is all the time we have today. I got to jump to a work thing that I'm already late to, but thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm here live every Monday. We will not be live next Monday. So we're skipping a week next week, but I've got more content coming out for you. New video on Wednesday. Make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on so you get a notification. If at any point, regardless of what you're watching, what you're doing, if it's a new video, old video, if you can give the video a like and give it a comment, it's helping the algorithm. It's helping YouTube recommend my videos to more people, which is helping the audience grow, which is putting us on the road to 100K. So Tanner, I'm sorry I didn't get to your call. I believe there were Eddie Wise, I'm so sorry I didn't get to your call as well, but in a week, after next week, I will get back to doing the Mentor Mondays. More and more videos coming out. New gear that isn't released yet is coming out next week. Even though I'll be away, I'll have 2 awesome videos for you. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. You guys are all great. Rewatch the stream if you're just tuning in, because there were a lot of really great answers, great questions, I should say, that apply to a lot of different home studio music producers. I'm around on Twitter if you have a really burning question at Nick TAETRO, NickTaetro on Twitter. And if you have a really burning question, you can ask me there. But for now, I gotta go. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.